Welcome to Magnet Marketers, our weekly live show where we break down the head, heart, and hand approach to building sustainable growth in your business. During each episode, we share actual client marketing best practice examples, strategies, and tactics that will help you generate real results. Our belief? A magnet always works better than being a bullhorn to attract, retain, and build your brand. Ready to dive into this week's Relationship Marketing Training Tuesday? Well, let's get started. Here's your host, Mike Gingerich and Jessika Phillips. Yay. Hello, and welcome back, everyone, from our summer break to Magnet Marketers Training Tuesday, where our goal is always to help you become a magnet with your marketing versus being a bullhorn. And we have a great guest with us to kick things off, the Mark Schaefer. But before we introduce him in this topic that we're going to be talking about how to build ideas and growth in your business when being good is just not good enough. So what that means and how you can really get an advantage in your business. So we'll be breaking that down today, but join in with us. Let me know who's joining in, where you're joining in from. I'm excited to be back and kicking things off back every Tuesday again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if we've not met before, hello, my name is Jessika Phillips with Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System. My personal mission is to help you love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating. And my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingerich. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, doing well. Good to be back and have another season to kick it off with Mark. Yeah, so good to be here.
Yeah, what is it, 7 years now?
Yes.
7 years.
Season 7.
Season 7. Let's do this, right? But if you've not met Mike before, he is a web and development software firm, president at Digital Hill Multimedia, published author 5 times over, triathlete runner, biker, leading business blogger at MikeGingerich.com. How's it going?
I'm doing well, and excited for this new season, but also to have Mark here to kick it off. I've known Mark for a number of years. He never fails to deliver some value, so looking forward to our conversation today. A little background on Mark. He is a strategy consultant, keynote speaker, university educator, and best-selling author of 9 books, way ahead of me in that regard, including Marketing Rebellion, Unknown, and the most recent one, Cumulative Advantage. So welcome, Mark.
Thanks. I can't believe this is the first time I've been on your show.
I know.
I mean, I love you guys, and we've been friends for so long. So it's an honor to be here with you.
I know. I feel like we've been on things before together. And I was like, wait, Mark hasn't been here because you are, a really, a pioneer when it comes to relationship marketing and forward thinking and just telling brands really what they need to do, right? Maybe not what we all want to hear, but what we need to do and must do in order to get ahead, right? And stay ahead and be sustainable. And so I know, I'm always getting tagged in things with Mark and Jessika, and so I adore your work.
We're tagged a lot. We're tagged a lot together.
I know. And you're the one friend that has sent me bacon. So, I mean, you're up here, like sending bacon in the mail. Like,
so there, everyone. Low bar.
No, it's good. It's good. So, Mark, I know we got to see you a couple weeks ago. It seems it's almost been a month now, I guess, in Social Media Week Lima. And I know you just recently had your book launch. So when did your book launch? Cumulative Advantage.
Oh gosh, it launched in February. Yes, it launched in February. I started writing it in the summer of 2019, had it about 1/3 finished, and then all hell broke loose in the world.
But the timing was kind of perfect, I think.
As it turned out, it was like, it wasn't just the pandemic. It was a season of political disruption and civil disruptions in the streets of our cities, and so I sent the chapters of the book to a close trusted friend of mine, and I said, "Is this still a book?" And he wrote me a note back. He said, "Yes. Not only is this a book, this is your most important book. This is your legacy to the world, and we need this book right now." So that gave me the encouragement and really the courage to plow ahead. And I would say definitely all the disruption and chaos in the world has affected the tone of the book. And especially when you get to the end, I've got a surprise at the book in the book at the end there that truly is sort of an introspection about what all this means, the ideas in the book.
Mhm.
How does this apply to chaos in the world, and what
Yeah.
can we do? That's what I struggled with is, what does this mean in terms of personal action? If we know how to create momentum in the world, we have this new superpower. How can that be used for good? How can that be used, in human terms, right? Which is in human relationships. So that's sort of the surprise at the end of the book. I go off-road.
And
There we
don't worry
go.
if you've not read the book yet, because we're going to be breaking some of this down, but you're going to want to get it. And I know those, like I said, when you were at Social Media Week Lima, when people were meeting up with you and talking with you about it, and the theme was unfiltered, right, for the events. And unfiltered being like how to build those conversations in a dark social world, how to start that momentum, starting from that inside out. And so it was very aligned in the sense of what do we need to do personally, our personal responsibility, and how do we show up and in a good way, and because you can't fake it, you can't buy community or any of those things. But the people that got the book from you, we heard lots of great feedback there, and just really kind of unpacking this for maybe those that have not read the book yet, or maybe a little unsure of what we're talking about. What is, in your definition, the cumulative advantage? I have to say that word like 5 times. It's one of those. There we go.
Cumulative advantage.
Cumulative advantage. There we go.
Yeah. So, well, here's basically the trajectory of my career has been this: trying to figure out how do we rise above the noise, right? I think the compelling question for all of us is, how can we be heard? How can we be seen? How can we be discovered in this increasingly noisy world? And it's getting so hard. Even if you're great, you might feel like you're just being buried. You might just feel like there's no hope. You're working so hard. I'm the kind of guy not to just give up and say, oh, well, life is hard, we're being buried. I want to figure it out. And that's what I've been doing basically in my books throughout my career. I wrote Known about personal branding, and Content Code about how do we get our content to break through. And so it led me to this idea of momentum. If you're stuck, if you just aren't getting to that next level, how do you rise above and just get going again? Well, as it turns out, there has been a tremendous amount of scientific research that was created about momentum in the field of sociology. It started in the 1960s with this fella named Robert Merton, a very, very famous sociologist. I can almost count on that you've never heard of them, because let's be honest, who's ever heard of a famous sociologist? I can't name one other than Robert Merton, because I studied him. And so, long story short, what he showed through his research, it started with Nobel Prize winners. He showed that once you get some initial advantage in your life, if you play your cards right, it can create unstoppable momentum. This theory of cumulative advantage has been proven in science, in technology, in education, with Academy Award winners, with athletes, in almost every field. But no one has ever taken this research and applied it to common people and ideas and businesses. And that's what I did in this book. And the reason that this is a book of hope is because there's nothing in this book that anybody can't do. You don't need a degree from Harvard. You don't need $1 million in the bank. You just need to know how the process works. And when you read the book, you'll never see the world the same way again, because you'll start seeing this pattern everywhere.
So true.
It's just starting to see, how does it work for me? How can I apply it to me and my business and my ideas? And that's the magic.
Love it. I love it. The one word we don't say here is funnel. Like that's the only F word anyway that we don't say here is funnel, and that's kind of the same concept, right? It's like, because it's not that way anymore. And I know I'm talking business, right? And you're talking individual too, but it applied to business as well. But that's it. The momentum, like if you get the momentum and you just have this shift from like customer to evangelist, right, for you, or team member to, evangelist for you, or advocate, or community to collaborators, and you just get that momentum flywheel effect, right, then that is how you can continue to grow. And it's so true, because instead of thinking of things like just dumping it in and trying to just count, one-off kind of situations, it's really focusing on just keeping that momentum going. And if you are at your core good and showing up, and like you said, the things that you will break down, some of the ideas and things that anyone can do to do that, to keep that momentum growing, then it's not as hard for you, because you have this other momentum supporting your efforts, versus you feeling like you have to be the gatherer and dumping things in this whole kind of sales funnel, if you will.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think it absolutely applies to individuals. I think it absolutely applies to personal brands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about, giving momentum to your ideas, your business, and your life. And then part of the subtitle of the book is Against All Odds. Because let's face it, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard today. And I know that people feel really beaten down, buried, and maybe even just overwhelmed. Chad. No, you're in Iowa. Oh, just seeing Chad's icon. I don't even need to see his face. Just seeing his avatar makes me smile.
Yes. Yeah. I've got a specific conversation in my mind that happened at Social Media Week Lima, where I was talking with someone that's basically a solopreneur, and she was really kind of struggling with, lamenting the I can't break through, I can't get ahead, I'm always at that threshold. So that's it seems like this is kind of, you're writing to someone at that stage, and
Yeah.
what's that first, what's a little bit that you want to give her today if she's listening?
Well, yeah. So, let me use a little bit of a case study.
Yep.
So what made Bill Gates Bill Gates? Here's what made Bill Gates Bill Gates.
Okay.
When he was a teenager, he had access to early computer prototypes. He was doing coding before anybody else. So that became sort of initial advantage, right? That he had this opportunity and he pursued it, right? He had this it wasn't just an idea. An idea is not momentum.
Yeah.
It's a quest. You've got to pursue the idea right now. So that's step one. He didn't have a degree from Yale. He wasn't connected to a lot of influencers. He had a little advantage. He just had access to early computers. That was it. Now, why did it blow up? Because he applied his advantage to what I call a seam. A seam is a fracture in the status quo. It's a shift in the world, right?
Yep.
So you assess, what am I good at? What are my resources? What are my connections? What are my abilities? What are my passions? And how does it connect to something new that's going on right now? Not a 2-year plan, not a 5-year vision, not a 250-page document. How does it apply right now? Now, and that is the beginning of momentum. Now, let me tell you a very practical idea, a very practical application of this. Last March, when the pandemic hit, I got sick. I got COVID. I was very, very sick for about a month. And during this period, my business crashed. My speaking engagements went to zero. My consulting went to zero. My college classes got canceled. And even my book sales dropped to almost nothing. So when I was waking out of this haze, I had to regroup and think about, okay, what is my core competency? What do I do for the world? This is it. I'm a teacher. If I blog, if I speak, if I write books, if I'm on a stage, If I'm in a class, I'm a teacher. But the world needed me to teach something different at that moment. I stopped all my marketing content and I pivoted, right? I'm applying my competency to the shift, to the seam. People need to know I'm afraid. I'm disoriented. I don't know what's going to be next, right? And so I started to teach people, here are things that we can do. Here are things that we can do together, right? The traffic to my blog doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Some people said, Mark, this is the best advice I've read anywhere right now. I collected this content, put it in a free ebook called Fight to the Other Side. The last page of the ebook said, if you love this content, wait till you hear Mark's talk, especially designed for your Zoom meeting. What's the fracture in the status quo? No live meetings. People are in the boring Zoom meetings. They need energized, right? I can do that. By July and August, I was having record months. Now, that's not going to last forever, right? We're going to come out of this pandemic. Right. But what I did was I began momentum by applying my advantage to a scene. Now, here's where I want to give just this bit of hope to everyone listening today, a bit of inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the biggest fracture in the status quo in the history of the human race. Everything we're doing is being reinvented and reimagined. How we work, where we work, how we teach our children, how we work out. We're creating a new relationship with food.
Vitamins.
Everything is being reimagined. There are a new set of unmet and underserved customer needs. We have to be aware of how our passions, how our heart, our skills can fit in these new seams, and that creates unstoppable momentum.
It's that spark, and I just want to amen everything you just said. Exactly. It's that spark, right? Like you start the spark, and even though things are shifting, what I heard you say, and how you showed up and discovered that seam, as you're calling it, right? And how you're getting in there and knowing who you are, how you want to show up, but you discovered relatability, authentic relatability, right? So you're coming in like, I am you. I'm here for you. It was this open, people call it authentic, just vulnerability, whatever. It doesn't always have to be that, in my opinion, but it does have to be relatable to where you are meeting someone at their level of where they're at. And that's where they're like, this is the best content because it's speaking to me. You're relating to me. I can feel like I'm connecting to you. So the other part of it, like that I was hearing too, is like having this, even if you're maybe not first, being first definitely going to give you an advantage. But even if you're not, but you're the one that shows up to be able to tell the story, to be passionate about it because you care, and people can tell that shift, that you're going to keep showing up too, the consistency, clarity, conviction in what you're doing, that's going to kind of keep that spark flamed, right, to kind of power that wheel, if you will, of momentum. And I feel like that's what you did really, really well. Watching, your journey. Of course, you're an amazing speaker, presenter, thought leader, all those things. But, people are hooked to it and showing up to see, now, what's Mark up to? How are you feeling, right? They're checking in on you too, because they know that you're helping them and checking in on their business. So now whatever you do, you have this community that's now in relationship with you, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. And I want to also emphasize that in today's world, we have to be in a constant process of this reinvention, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, when I was a young guy growing up in business, strategy was all about, finding your lane and staying in your lane and just plowing that way for you. Literally, when I was an executive with, in my early career, we would do 5-year plans. Yeah, that's impossible today. And really the idea today is just being aware of all these fractures going on. And it's it's infinite, and it's happening every minute. Let me give you one other quick little example, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, please.
Because it's very practical. So I read a headline the other day that Hallmark greeting cards is getting out of the e-card business. They think the whole world is going to e-commerce. They're doubling down on e-commerce. Why in the world would the biggest greeting card company in the world be getting out of e-commerce? So I dug down. What's going on? Here is the epiphany. The two biggest markets for greeting cards: senior citizens. They don't like sending cards on computers, so
yes,
that would be a fail. Here's the second biggest market for greeting cards: Gen Z.
Yep.
But they want something that's personal and handcrafted, right? Hallmark can't do it. But you know what? If I'm an artist and I love doing greeting cards, I look at this and say, I'm starting a TikTok channel tomorrow showing the inside of my world of how I'm creating these greeting cards. And I'm going to create this whole new business, because that's a shift, right? It's a theme. So you got to be aware of what's going on in the world. And when you see something that doesn't make sense, don't ignore it. Get to the bottom of it, because that could be a business opportunity.
Personalized experiences, like really quick, and sorry, Mike, really quick. One of the things I just bought was one of those wax seals. So you can seal like your cards with it, like that's things so cool. Like those personalized touches go so far. I can't even tell you how many people will send me send me a message or whatever and say, I still have that card that you sent me on my desk or whatever, right? Like those personalized experiences too, like make such a big difference. And like you said, standing out from a sea of like sameness, right? Like I love that Hallmark's doing that. So such a good example. Sorry, Mike.
No. Very good stuff. It made me think, Mark, you mentioned TikTok, and I immediately thought of somebody that Etsy, kind of the explosion of Etsy marketplace where it's an avenue for those. But I guess maybe a next question is, I just read an article on COVID decision fatigue. So think of a parent, and so they've got so much stuff going on,
right?
And then the world has gotten complex and complicated. So what do you want to comment on?
I think that's awesome, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Here's a corollary of that, Mike. Here's what I read: the e-commerce function in many families is being taken over by the children.
Yes, so true.
Here's how it goes. Oh, grandma, I know you're locked in and you don't want to go out because of COVID and you need to buy all this stuff. Don't worry, I'll do it for you. Right?
I just did that yesterday, Instacarted to my grandma's store.
Right. So okay, now what does that mean? Who's the real customer now? Right? So so just finding little data points like that. And the thing is, once you create that momentum by applying your heart, your passion, your resources, your expertise to a seed, you blast through. You don't look back. You go through and you dominate that thing, and that is the beginning of momentum. So that's a great example, Mike. Just being aware of these little. There's so much going on right now. It's just overwhelming opportunities.
And co-creating, right? Like I know we've talked a little bit more about that, and that's going to be the theme for Social Media Week Lima 2022. It's that who is really the customer now? Like you said, it's like co-creating now. All brands, like right now I'm holding a cup that, out-carry your competition, because that's something I say a lot. And somebody, Kim Garst, I was on her show, and she created this cup and then sent it to me, and it's like, you should start creating cups, right? And now it's like, okay, cool. Now I can, source and start sending things to other people too with their sayings on it. And it's like, now there's new avenues for everyone to really kind of co-create and think about what could we do different? How can we maybe even add some things in that are new, that just expands kind of the senses of how we're reaching people and how we're connecting with them, emotionally too, right? And becoming more memorable. So I love that. one, Mark, because I know this time is like going so fast already, but where can people best connect to find out more about the book and you and just dive into all your goodness of resources?
Well, no one can remember how to spell Schaefer, but I'm delighted that it's, it's spelled right here. But my website is Businesses Grow. So you don't have to remember Schaefer, but Businesses Grow. I've been blogging every week since 2009. I've had my marketing, we're in the 9th season of the Marketing Companion podcast. It's all free. You can find my books. They're not free, but they're really cheap. You get 2 years of my life for $20.
Jeez.
So you can find everything at businessesgrow.com.
Okay, I'm going to make sure to put that link in here. And also, if this has been helpful for you and you want to find out more, because I'm telling you, this is what brands need to know, whether you're a solopreneur, B2B, B2C, it does not matter. This is what people do need to know. This momentum shift is real. I think it's always been there, but now even more important than ever. So definitely type the word recap in the comments here. And what will happen is it'll just welcome you to get the blog recap tomorrow. So if you type the word recap in the comments here, it will start a reaction to make sure that you get the blog sent to you digitally tomorrow in your inbox of choice. So definitely make sure to check that out and check out Mark's books, 2 years of his life for under $30, winning. Yeah. So I don't know. Is that like a Black Friday thing that just stayed on for too long, Mark, or you're just being nice like that?
Well, it takes me 2 years to write a book, and it's just such a huge commitment. I mean, I take it very, very seriously because everything I do, I have one thing in my mind, and I know you can relate to this, is that I will never let you down, right? Mm-hmm. If you read a blog post, if you listen to a podcast, if you read a book, it's going to be worth your time because I never take my readers, my fans for granted. Never, ever. That will be the moment I exit the field. So I'm serious about it. When you read one of my books, there's value, there's an idea, there's an inspiration on every single page.
And you can tell.
It takes a lot of work.
You can tell, and it's thoughtful, and you're never sharing anything that hasn't been tested or proven. And that's one thing that I highly respect out of you. One, just how you show up and that you care all about that. But also that you're not just sharing things kind of out there just to make some headline or something. It's something that you really know and have proven. So I think that's awesome. And Chad says here, I want to watch an Instagram Reels series called Back in Mark's Day. It would be amazing.
It also be probably short.
Mark really puts his heart into what he puts out there. And that's from Julia. I agree 100%. So thanks everyone for joining in with us today. Definitely check out Mark's stuff, businessesgrow.com. That's a link there. Again, type the word recap in the comments here so you can get that recap sent right into your inbox and more links to find Mark. Mark, any last finishing thoughts for our audience here that you want everybody to know?
Oh, I've got to have a finishing thought, right? And that, what I think really the theme today and the theme for a lot of my writing and my work is the subtitle of the Marketing Rebellion book, The Most Human Company Wins. Also, the most human live streaming show. Also, the most human podcast, the most human insurance company, the most human university, the most human nonprofit, right? So stop doing what people hate. Double down on what people love. Be more human. Show your face, show your heart in everything that you do.
Amen to that. You can never care too much.
Yes.
Right? So I love it. Thank you again, Mark, so much for your time and just your energy and just how you show up. So appreciate you. Thank all of you for coming back for our first kickoff to the season 7 here. And we hope to see you back next week. Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, wherever you're tuning in from. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Take care. Look for the seam.